the books, authors always say, hey, I'd love to hear from you. Do you guys really love to hear from your fans?
Depends on what they have to say. I should say that. Gosh, it seems like sometimes it seems like such a God thing. Like, I have to admit, I got kind of for example, I got a negative review about an older book from someone. And then the next day I got an email from someone else who said, that's my favorite book you've ever written. I love this, this, this. And I'm like, thank you, because it is discouraging when you get hard emails, hard reviews. Now, most people are so nice and so gracious. And even if it's not their favorite book, they can find something nice to say. Most people give me wonderful reviews. I'm very thankful. But so that's why I was kind of teased about, depends on what you're writing to tell me. Yeah, in general, I do, and I have to admit, I'm not always great at following up right when I get them. If I'm working away on a book, they kind of stockpile. So if you haven't heard from me, it's not because I don't want to, I'm just behind. But then I do try to catch up. And yeah, sometimes they're just such blessings, especially when I'm, discouraged. And I know I'm not the only author who gets discouraged sometimes, especially this year. So yeah, if you're thinking about an author that you would like to email, especially some word of encouragement or to let them know you like their book or you're praying for them or whatever it is, I know whether or not they respond back, they will really appreciate it.
Yes, I find with my job, positivity is always nice. And even if it's just like, hey, I like what you did. So if I read a book, I do try and send a message just like, hey, I really like this, because I like hearing it myself.
Yeah, we all do. We're humans. And I think sometimes people forget that about authors, that we're humans too. And not that I don't want anyone to go online and say stuff they don't mean about the books, but, there's always at least 2 or 3 ways to say the same thing, But yeah, a little encouragement goes a long way because authors are people too.
Absolutely. And so now, what do you have coming up for 2021?
Oh, well, I'm kind of loving this whole mystery thing. So originally I was going to write a different book next, but because of travel bans and all of that, I've not been able to go back to England. So I'm kind of holding, because the next idea I have, I would really like to go to the setting. So I'm working on another standalone mystery. This one is set in an old abbey in England. And there's a lot of wonderful old abbeys that have become manor houses, and then some of them have become hotels. So I'm writing, again, romance, mystery, a little gothic, is this abbey haunted, or is there a human reason for what's going on? And the creaks in the night, and an author is actually the victim this time, which is kind of fun. So yeah, I still have a long way to go. I have a very ugly, rough draft, but I'm cautiously optimistic, we'll say that. So that's due to come out, Lord willing, December of 2021.
Nice. And then something that I've always been meaning to ask you is, how do you come up with the title of your books?
Well, that is also a process. And some of my books, I've had a working title from the beginning, and that title has stuck. And that's awesome. But often it doesn't. The marketing and salespeople at my publishing house, and I think this is true for many publishing houses, they need to approve it. They need to believe it's a title, as well as the cover that they create, that it's going to be a title that sells well, that captures attention, that represents the story well. So they ask me for many ideas, a list of ideas. And I always want to say, but this is the one I want, but it's not often chosen, oddly enough. So that's kind of sad. So yeah, so I provide some information because we're coming up with the title. We've already got the title for the Abbey mystery, and I'm still writing it. So I had to provide, here's the latest description, here's, kind of the theme, here's kind of what happens, and here's some title ideas. And if they have a committee there that goes on it, goes back and forth. And yeah, so sometimes I struggle a little bit with that, but usually they're right. When I've looked back at some of the titles I wanted, I'm thinking, yeah, they were right. They know what they're doing. Aren't it? No, they're good. So yeah, this wasn't the title for this. I don't know, something else, but I like it now a lot. But yeah, so it's a process, and the let's see, the title for the Abbey, what did it end up being? See if I can. Shadows of Swanford Abbey, which was like the 12th title I wanted. It was like the lowest one on the list, but it'll be fine. And, thankfully they know what they're doing. I would be lost without my publishing team, my editors. They're amazing. And it is really, a team effort, which I love.
So I'm going to throw this out, and I apologize if you don't have the answer, but do you know about approximately how many people, I want to say like touch your book, but like are involved in the process?
I can make up a number. Because, that would be fairly close, because really the publishing house is not that big unless you start counting like printers, and I don't know how far you want me to go, but
no.
In terms of, the people who review the books, give me feedback, and then edit it, that's probably a group of, I would guess, 6. And then you've got the people who come up with the covers and the promotions and the publicity. That's like 4 or 5 people. And then there's some production people who deal with the typesetting and all that. And I'm not good at math, so you could probably figure this out. But, a dozen to 15, depending on how far you want to go in terms of there's freelance proofreaders and the people who, paginate and do the actual printing and all that. So it's not maybe as big as you would. I don't know. Does that seem like a lot or a little? I don't know.
I think so, yeah.
But I'm glad. Several. I've got at least 3, 4 editors, proofreaders, rounds to help me, and I'm very grateful. I would not. I know a lot of people self-publish, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I wouldn't want to do that only because I really do feel like the book is better for the team approach.
Sure. And so when did you start the process of writing this newest book that's coming out in 2021?
Well, usually it's it is, by the time it's all said and done, it is a 9 to 12 month process. And this year I was a little bit late getting started because having 2 books out this year, that means I was doing final proofs on galleys, through the summer, which normally that's my time to start writing, the rough draft of the next book. So I got a little bit of a later start. So let's say usually I start in the summer in terms of in earnest, but by then I've already come up with the idea, gotten it approved by the publisher. They're already working on the cover and all of that. So let's say if I say June, July, and then it comes out in December of the following year.
Right.
I write it. So I'll start, let's say I started in June. I have to turn it in January. So what is that? 7 months?
Well, my math skills are worse than yours. So.
But then, even after I turn it in the first time, then they give it back to me and I have to make rewrites, and then there's editing, and then it comes out in December. So, it's less than a year, probably 8 to 9 months. And then, if you want to count all the editing and final proofs and final checks, it gets a little bit longer.
And what are galleys?
Galleys they used to be, of course, all paper, where you get the book as it's typeset. So when you're writing at home, you're probably in Word or maybe in Scrivener. I use both. But then the publisher typeset, so it's going to look like how it's going to look on the page, with the chapter headings and the style and all that. And then, so you can see where the line, hopefully no weird words are broken off at the end of the page and, that kind of thing. So then they send you that, which is called the final galleys. And of course, it dates back to the old printing press days where those were the plates with the lead slugs of type that they would lay out to print one page. And then that's your last chance to look at it, how it's going to actually be printed and catch everything. Nowadays, it's especially this year with COVID, everything's been digital. So you look at those, in a PDF online and give it your sign off and hope for the best.
Do you get to have feedback in how you want kind of I don't know the technical terms, but kind of the ornamentation of the chapter numbers and any kind of little
they call it page design, for example. I don't know if you can see this, but they have Ivy. This is one, the Ivy Hill book. The typeset for for the author's name. This had the map in it, which I love. And then how the chapter headings are going to look. So they design all that, and they send it to me. They send me a PDF of here are a few representative pages that will show you how we're planning for the books to look. And almost always, I love it and don't say, just say it's great. I will say, in the last book they wanted to try something quite different, and I didn't like it. I didn't think it was super readable, and my editor felt the same way. So we did ask for a change. But in general, yeah, they come up with that at the publishing house, and usually it's just a quick, yep, love it, or they give you a chance. And I don't design it, but I get a chance to yay or nay it, which I'm grateful for.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Julie, I appreciate, again, your time. This is so fun to talk to you and to learn about your books, because I love your books and I'm so excited to read them, the new ones coming out. So, and I did want to say that you have a bunch of fun stuff on your website, kind of your research. Can you kind of give us a little overview of that?
Sure. I would love for people to visit me either on my website, or if you're on Facebook, I have an author page there. But yeah, on my website, I have a lot of research photos from England, things that relate to the book, especially for my older books. I confess I'm a little bit behind the newer books, not getting the research pictures on there. But I have some quotes and things, if there's any events, which there aren't right now, but that's where I would post if I'm going to be speaking somewhere. And we occasionally will do a fun promotion or a giveaway, and we would post that both there and on Facebook. So yeah, I would love for people to come and visit me, either of those places. We are having, speaking of promotions or contests, I don't know if you know, Rainer, if you've ever read Michelle Greep or Erica Vetch. There are two other inspirational authors who write Regency era novels as well. And we did something earlier, right? We planned it way before the coronavirus hit. And it was good timing because it was in March, I think, March or April, when we did this Regency bingo. And it was a several week long where we would just say, pick certain Regency era words and then describe them, and people could check off if they'd pick those. We had prizes and free books. And it was so much fun that we're doing another one. It starts in November, called Regency Christmas Bingo, where we're talking about some of the Christmas traditions and words that might be common or may not be familiar to readers, that relate to kind of British Christmas. So that will start in November, and I don't have details on my website yet, but we will be posting some things soon, definitely on Facebook. We have a little inspirational Regency Facebook page anyone can join who loves that era, and we'll be posting a lot about that contest there as well. We're also doing, I don't know if you're familiar with, my publisher has Baker Bookhouse they also have a bookstore, and they also do a lot of online orders, and they're doing like a 40% pre-order for A Castaway in Cornwall. So some of those kinds of things are going to be great. We're going to do a chance to win free autographed copies of the new book on Goodreads, and so several other things like that will be coming up in November and December. So I hope you will check those out.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your gift of writing to all of us readers. And I just greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure, Raina. It's so much fun to talk to you. You make it very easy. And I'm just so appreciative of your support. And I enjoyed it. And I'll be happy to talk to you anytime.
I will take you up on that.